What's up, Nate?
Hey, Jose, welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back to you, buddy. You just flew in.
I'm back from
So
Phoenix.
that was, we got to give you a quick congratulations. That was an awesome show, awesome showing, and you're vastly improving continuously at 39 years young. And it's very impressive outing you had out there. Of course, for those of you that don't know, we're talking about the Masters USA that was held in Tempe, Arizona?
Phoenix, yep, which is basically Tempe, yep.
Okay, and I obviously wasn't there. I was having a procedure done that I'm still recovering from. That's why I look like dog shit. Yeah, I had a penile enlargement finally. I'm up to a hefty 3.5 inches now. So wish me luck with that. But Nate, man, you went out, you did your first time as a heavyweight. Every show previously, we've brought you in, you're 5'8", and you're just a little too tall to be a legit light heavyweight. You come in peeled, but you'd always lose to the heavyweight who, was just fuller and rounder, not even bigger necessarily.
Yep.
So we found the recipe for you is to be a small heavyweight. I wish they added that class instead of light heavyweight. Add the small heavyweight. And what do you think you were on stage at, around 204?
That would be my guess, possibly 203 if I dropped. So I weighed in the day before at 207 and woke up the next morning after pulling water like 202 and a half. Yeah. And we got 2 or 3 meals in. I think I went on around 2:30 in the afternoon. So yeah, give or take, maybe no heavier than 204, that's for sure.
Right. Which is a great look for you. And we kind of discussed that a year ago. And when you did the last light heavyweight outing, you weighed in at 196.
I think 197 and a half or something like that. Yeah.
So again, give or take, you're probably somewhere around 6 pounds heavier, which is a lot in 1 year's time. And it's not like you were any less conditioned, giving up condition to add those 6 pounds. That was legit bang on where you should have been.
I'll pull up, since we're just talking about this, let me pull up my, see if I can do like a screen share thing. And
see if you can pull up a front lat spread and a rear double.
Let's try. Can you see my screen, Jose?
Yeah, that doesn't even look like you. Wow.
Different guy. All right, so let's maximize this guy. And then this is one that kind of has a combination of the shots.
Right.
Front lat spread, just taken from the NPC site.
I like the front lat spread comparison because it shows how full you are in the pecs and shoulders and quads, and the separation and detail that you have in your quads, which is always a concern for us because they don't really start popping until a few weeks out. And when you drop water, you really can see the detail in the legs. And that rear double is the shot of all shots. I think that's the one shot where, if as a coach you needed to see someone's condition, that's the only shot I need to see, is the rear double. That kind of shows everything.
Man, I'll tell you, from my experience and looking at the photos, which I think I have some here. Go to the comparisons. So there were 2 guys in my class. Let me go back to the names real quick so I get it right. Jeremiah Willies and Adrian Kendrick, who were national level guys, been, I guess, going for their pro card for several years now. And when we first came out, when we were in line, these guys probably had to suck down to make heavies. They must have been in the 220, 225 range.
Yeah. They were both a lot taller than you as well.
A lot taller. You can see here, Jeremiah and Adrian. So when we came out, I was just numerically, I happened to be the middle spot. And, you know, my front double by isn't my best shot structurally compared to like a black guy with a 28-inch waist. You know, I get murdered on that. And both of these guys, if I close this out on the front double by, murdered me. Let me see. You know, just structurally, you look at this guy right here, you know, Adrian, goddamn. I was sending you pics of this dude a couple days before the show saying, this guy's structure is unbelievable. So structurally, these guys, in terms of smaller waists and wide lats, blow me away. And so what had happened was, numerically, I started out in the middle, and like 3 poses in, they swapped me with a guy with the gold trunks, Jeremiah. And I'll tell you, like, kind of, you know, in my head at that moment, there was this weird thing going on of like, fuck, I just lost the center spot, right? Like, I didn't come here to take second or third place. And I heard your voice in my head just saying, fight for it, fight for it. Like, that was what was going on in real time, you know? Because I don't really know what these guys look like as we're hitting the poses. I just know standing in line, they seem like giants, you know, in front of me. And so I'm, you know, hearing that. So I go through the shot. So they move us. I'm then like on the outside, as you saw from like, you know, side chest. I'm here. Now you can kind of start going through, and I'm sure they're looking and saying like, it's hard to see in these pics, but I had just more detail going on. You know, smaller.
For sure.
Now you turn to the back. Let me find a back shot like here. And both these guys are great, you know, structurally good backs. But there's just, it's hard to see in the pic, but just a little bit more graininess and hardness in this stuff. And so we went through, and I think by the end, you know, we do say side try, just a little tighter through the midsection, more detail on the legs. But again, these guys are no slouches, man. These guys were really, really good. And then at that point, so ab and thigh, you know, a little bit more detail through the serratus, oblique area than some of these guys, but they look great. I think then after that, so ab and thigh, even most muscular, they so a little bit more detail here again, but close.
Then, what can't be seen in photos is the true conditioning. I can tell they're one that both of those big guys were lacking in lower body development, whether it be hamstrings, calves, detail in those areas, and just overall conditioning in their entire backside. So that you can't really tell through these photos, but you were clearly more conditioned. And then that shot right there, you know, that guy in the blue trunks, he's, as you said earlier, structurally, he should win this running away. But as you start to break it down, the judges did a good job in saying, well, you know, this isn't just a structure show. This is a muscle show. This is a condition show. And you end up edging them out, you know, pretty clearly to me. You're rounder and more conditioned. So, you know, kudos to him. That guy was like 1% off from what he might have needed to.
The interesting thing too, they ran us through 2 or 3 rounds of poses. We were wiped by the end of it. You know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, I mean, you've probably been through a lot more than that. But when you're doing 3 rounds of mandatories, the interesting thing is I was able to pretty much hold it. Like, I was winded by the end, but if I look from my pics of round 1 to like round 3, everything's still there. The Jeremiah guy faded big time. It's you know, not to knock the guy, but I was looking through the pics and I go like, there's a layer of sweat. His midsection completely got washed over and distended. I've never actually personally seen it that drastic. And I looked at the scorecards after, so I was fortunate to get straight ones. These guys were like a point or 2 apart, meaning the judges were very split on who was second, between Adrian and Jeremiah. But you just started to kind of see him very much fade after 1 round of posing. But So yeah, really, really awesome experience, going through this whole thing, going against some top level guys, both of these guys, it was an honor to stand up there. And I think for me, confidence wise, like you said, it was the first time moving up to heavies, and I was scared, man. Like I wake up the morning of the show at 202 pounds. That's not the best feeling. And you get there and you see everyone backstage clearly in that 220 to 225. But I also had faith, in your words, and like knowing that, say Charlie Pearson's his last name, right?
Yeah, Charlie Pearson.
Charlie Pearson turned pro at like 207.
Yeah.
There's been a handful of guys that have done it.
We had what the hell's his name? Clark. I'm having a brain fart, but he won the USA's as a heavyweight at 202. There's been
Jason Arntz. Wasn't Jason Arntz another one that said he turned pro as a real small heavy?
A lighter heavyweight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it happens because oftentimes they're going to be shorter guys that are just put together better and have better conditioning.
Yep. So
people don't realize how big that is, a 225-pound heavyweight.
Right.
That's gigantic.
Yep. So no, I knew that it was the best look I had brought. I was in really good condition. We had filled up significantly more than any of my past shows. And if I was going to lose, it was going to be someone with a better structure who had matched me on conditioning, so at least I had, I checked the boxes I could check. And, shout out too. So obviously I made it to the overall. It was very, very close in the overall, but shout out to Christian Simmons, who won. There's a shot here, who was a light heavyweight, who looked really, really good.
He was jam-packed.
Yeah, a lot of, just a ton of muscle. Very, very balanced, super nice guy. I spoke to him at length. He watched the podcast and thought very highly of you, had met you before. And so, it was a really cool thing of I spoke to the judges and they were like, he might've had you on a pose or two. That's how close it was. And so for me, it was not discouraging of like, damn, I was that close and, I could have got the pro card and didn't, but encouraging in that this is my first rodeo of a USA national qualifier, first time as a heavyweight, and to be that close in striking distance and face some good guys too. Because let's be honest, there's a scenario where this guy doesn't show up. He was actually just turned 40. Yeah. And was planning on doing the 40 and up show on Friday, and figured, why the hell not? I'll jump in Thursday for the 35 and up too, give myself a second shot.
Right.
He ran away with it in the light heavy. I know he ran away with it in the light heavy class easily. It was him and everybody else. And you guys looked good, but he was the clear winner. So he doesn't show. You have a light heavy that I feel confident I could beat, but I also don't want to win the pro card that way, with the lineup that everyone kind of looks at and is like, yeah, he turned pro, but like, look at this overall,
Right.
I want to win where it's like I felt good about that heavyweight win. Those two guys, second and third, were really, really good bodybuilders. And so, that felt like a good win. You don't want to win where it just happens to be a weak class and you get by on a technicality.
Right. Now this kid was good. It was very close. I could have made a valid argument for you winning that. You definitely had him in a few shots, but he had that look of a jam-packed bodybuilder for his height. Was he about my height? 5'4" maybe?
I think I would guess maybe 5'5", 5'6", a little taller.
Yeah.
But very, very thickly muscled for sure.
Yeah.
I'm, for me, it's no shame in losing to this guy in that he was balanced. He was in really good condition. If I find like his back double by right here, the guy was in shape. not really missing anything. And, one of the big takeaways, kind of put it out there is hold myself accountable is, talking to the judges is they basically said, they're like, look, it came down to maybe a couple poses. And one of the guys said, look, you might have even had the better physique, but you couldn't show it in your posing.
Right.
And, my long running issue has just been keeping the quads flexed and or keeping the glutes flexed. I hit the back double by, I set the glutes and the hamstrings. And as soon as I go to lock in the back, I might wobble and lose my balance and the glutes let up. And so I really appreciate that feedback because it's that can be fixed by starting now and putting in that repetition in the practice. And I don't disagree with that, so the guys kind of said, look, you guys were that close and we just can't give a pro card to somebody who can't, nail these poses.
Right. Well, it's a valuable lesson for you and for anyone listening that you can bring every other aspect, the condition, the muscle, and look like the winner in your progress pics, but on stage, it's very different. You have to make sure you're hitting those shots professionally and ready to roll at all times and hit every single pose perfectly. Or someone can beat you that's close. So that's something interesting. People need to remember and put in a lot of extra time into their presentation. Because that really was the difference.
So one, I have to say too, thank you to Muscle Contest, Tamer and Tarek for still having this thing. Unbelievable what they had to go through. Initially in LA, moved to Vegas, and then a week and a half, 2 weeks before, moved to Phoenix to a completely new venue. And it couldn't have been run more professional. We had a real stage, serious lighting, screens everywhere. Also the COVID protections, they were doing temperature checks and making everyone take hand sanitizer. All the seats were 6 feet apart from each other, like a row of 5 or 6 seats together, and then 6 feet apart in every direction. So, given the circumstances, man, tons of respect for the Muscle Contest crew of moving this thing and putting it on. So I have the regular USAs as well, which I was able to attend and see in person. There was a lot of controversy online of a couple wins. Overall winner, who I agree with, see if I can find him, the super heavyweight, Christopher Robinson. Man, this guy was nasty. I think he's in the 270 range. When he came out for the super heavies, I was sitting next to Justin Randall, a 212 pro, and we both were like, that's the super heavy winner and probably the overall winner. It was just so put together.
He looks like a giant Tank Dixon.
Yeah, pretty much. The guy was so big, conditioned enough for somebody that big. He might not have been the hardest guy in the show, but he was hard enough for being 270 pounds on stage.
How tall was he?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to stand next to him. So I'm not sure, but I don't think he was 6 feet plus. He might have been 5'9", 5'10".
Wow.
But I mean, we're talking big, and pretty lean for that size. So he ran away with the super heavies. There wasn't any question there. The overall could have been very comparative. If I let me see if I move back here. The guy who won the heavies. So the heavies was really interesting. It was a 3-man show. Had Martin Gomez, Austin Conley, and then Mariano Tabali. And in the prejudging, the guy that ended up in third, Mariano Tabali, was dead center in first.
Really?
And this was the only class of the entire show they rejudged at the night show.
Wow.
Everything else, it was determined, as to be expected. And so in the prejudging, it seemed to be between Austin Conley and Mariano Tabali. And
I liked Austin Conley. He was big.
Yep. A very polished, good condition.
Yeah.
And so it was those two with Martin Gomez in third. but you know, nipping on the heels. It was like a 3-man show.
Yeah.
Justin Shear obviously looked good, but not quite put together enough. His color was a little off, needed a little oil, needed to be a little harder, but his structure was probably the best in the show. He just
Well, maybe he was the one I liked.
so very small waist, crazy lats. His front double bi was retarded.
Yeah, that's the one I liked.
Yep. So he was my pick going in through Instagram photos of like, how do you beat this structure?
Right.
And it was just a little bit of, wasn't dark enough, needed more oil. And as he started hitting some of the shots in the lineup, there just was a level of hardness that wasn't there that some other guys had.
Right.
And as great as his structure was, and it was the best up there, you just started noticing these other guys, Austin Conley, the Mariano guy, man, everything popped on him. He was the perfect combination of peeled and full.
Show a picture of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I remembered him.
So
this
guy,
yeah.
Dude, he had, you know,
he was real good from behind.
Yeah.
Double.
You know, everything was there. Yep. See if I can find whoops, my bad. Rear double here. You know, just and this picture doesn't do him justice. You know, a lot of these, as you know, a lot of these show photos take away 10 or 20% of the conditioning.
Right.
This guy in the lights and you know, with the oil on, man, this back just popped like you wouldn't believe. You know, through the glutes and the hams, and it was on another level than even what this. Justin and I were sitting there as they went through. They must have gone to 3 mandatories as well, 3 rounds. And going like, oh my God, like you couldn't take your eyes off this guy of how much stuff just popped.
Right.
And so he ended in center for prejudging. And it's the one class that they said, we're going to be rejudging the night show. They brought all the guys out and they just ran them through round after round after round. They started moving them around. And the way that it ended was Austin Conley second, the guy that ended in center that everybody thought was going to win in third, and the guy that they had on the outside at third, Martin, winning, who there's no slouch in conditioning. That he's one of a what's his name, Matt Jansen's guys.
Yeah.
So very, very peeled. See if I can get like a back shot here. I mean, crazy. You know, like another level of conditioning in terms of the back. So he was a smaller guy. You know, he didn't stand out as much as Austin was big. The guy that ended up in third was really big.
Yeah. He looks to have a little more of the finer details, this kid.
Yeah.
I can see that. I understand it. If they didn't blow him away in size, he's polished enough to take it.
Yep.
I can see that.
So the other kind of controversy, that was somewhat controversial just because it's the only thing they rejudged. And there was a pretty significant change, a guy going from first to third. The other one was the light heavies, where you had, I believe, a Cito's guy, Dominic Simmons and Yuman Eaton. Pull up these guys. So Dominic won. And, you know, after the fact, there's been a lot of photos going around, mainly like Yuman putting him out there, whose back is pro level. You know, he has almost a George Peterson level freaky back. Posting, you know, his back double bi and this guy Dominic's back shots, which aren't very good. Dominic lost everything from the back, but he won the front and side. So, you know, you go to Dominic's back shots, it's not incredible. You know, it's not terrible, but it's just nothing's really popping back there.
Yeah.
But, you know, in some of the other shots, let's see if I can find, you know, waist is tiny, great taper. Yeah. Everything is, you know, there's some cross striation going on in the quads. The guy's shape, he was just very, very tight. And Yuman had a harder time controlling his midsection. Yeah. So, you know, just the detail in this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's what's missing here through the photographs is his conditioning was significantly better than Yuman. Yuman still, he has a tendency to still hold a bunch of water. He looks like he's really full of water, but doesn't get that crisp, dry look, where this guy wasn't full, but he was very crisp. And
so I'll pull Yuman up now.
Good enough.
So Yuman, you know, it's one of these things where the comment from everybody, and, you know, I took second place to Yuman in Bermuda. So I've, you know, we've both seen the guys, we've seen him close up. And, you know, my first thing to you in Bermuda was, how the hell does this guy make light heavies? You know, he's so big and takes up so much space. When I had to struggle so much to make, and he's not any shorter than me. No, you know, he looked just as tall. So it was one of those things where, you know, even in the lineup, he looked like a guy that was at the top of a heavyweight class, standing in with the light heavies, you know. It was dramatically bigger than everybody in the shot. So you have, you know, obviously this relaxed shot is great. You get a side chest here. This is where he starts to lose some of the stuff, you know. He's big, but it might not be as aesthetically pleasing as Dominic. Obviously his back shots are pretty nutty, you know, back double by here, a lot of back thickness. Lat spread, ton of width. So
he's gonna win shows where there's nobody that's really polished. If there's someone with decent structure who's very polished, he's going to lose every time because that's what he lacks, that polish of a professional looking physique. He's got plenty of size. He's got good shape, structure, all those things, but he's not, I'd say 80% of polished of where he needs to be to win this show. You know, and I feel bad for him because either him or his camp was telling him that he's blowing everyone away. Well, he is blowing them away structurally, but that's only one aspect of the game. You know, he's got to be 100% polished and dry. That's all I think when I see him, is that he's holding this layer of water that is really hiding the fine detail that his physique needs to be polished. That's unfortunate. He because man, he's huge. That's a huge light heavyweight.
It's massive, absolutely massive. The width and obviously just the traps, everything. You know, I'm still amazed. I almost want to be there next time he weighs in. You know, you get to see what you're. I'm sure you felt like that with some 212 guys. You know.
Oh yeah.
How is this guy making this weight? And you know, but it's unfortunate. You always feel bad. You know, photos don't do it justice, especially when somebody is cherry picking one or two poses. When there's 8, you know, or 12 if you consider the quarter turns. You know, there's a lot more than, you know, 1 or 2 poses. I thought he was going to win just based on the wow factor of being so big. I mean, he looked like he had 20 pounds on everybody on stage. You know, it was significant. But you could see with Aceto's guy, Dominic, there was just a level of
quality.
Yeah, exactly. You know, especially not so much in the back. You know, he gave up those back shots, but the side and especially the front where you could see his taper. You know, and just the fine detail. You know, he's not holding that film of water. You know, like we're talking about, it's everything's there, you know, like it's and he's just polished, like you said. His color is perfect, his posing was good. The other thing I'll say, that from being there firsthand, Yuman has a tendency to violently shake while he's holding poses. I mean, we're talking like it's that like violently, like you just want to tell him, like, dude, squeeze 50% less. Everything's still there, you know? And, you know, I get it in that I always have a tendency to, like, you know, move my arms a little bit. So I'm not even thinking about it clearly, but every shot he was squeezing so tight that there was like, I'm sitting half, you know, I'm 40 yards back from the stage. and all you see is this, right? Like
Right.
violently shaking. That's a distraction, man, from somebody that's hitting this stuff with ease and standing there like a statue, you know?
Right.
So that's something the pictures don't tell you. That being there, this guy just hit this shit with ease. Everything popped and he held it, looked like a statue.
Yeah.
And Uman would look to be struggling through the poses, you know. So that freeze frame photo, man, he outsizes everybody. But as it went along, that between poses, the stomach was kind of hanging out. You know, all of that stuff that it isn't captured on these NPC photos.
Well, this is become sort of a pattern with Uman. If I remember correctly, backstage in Bermuda, he was getting sick and had trouble posing during prejudging. So much to the point that they rejudged at night because he was throwing up.
Yeah,
so
the second we got off stage, like we're talking like, thank you, gentlemen, you know, clear the stage. He went right to a trash can and threw up and you know, like violently threw up. So I don't know if it's nerves, you know, who knows? I can't speak for him, but you know, I did see that. And then you and I were part of the aftermath where he or his camp of people were saying, you know, we want a do-over. That doesn't count, rejudge at night, you know, and they came to us asking, are you okay with that? And we're like, what are you talking about? There's no do-overs in this, you know?
Yeah, so that's something he can address and hopefully get better moving forward. And yeah, so that's the USAs. Those guys were great. Congratulations to all the winners and to the overall winner. He was crazy. Hopefully he tightens up and goes right into a pro show this spring.